Hey, I'm Solitary Sun, and this is my tattoo tour.
This is a story about a man with many names and many faces. Known as Lizard Man, murderer, biker wannabe, and failed death metal star, Bronson Ellery was also a lover of pigeons and spelling bees. Despite his varied interests, he was always described as someone who needed to have the most. Bronson Ellery grew up on Australia's Gold Coast. From a young age, he was fascinated by tattoo culture and the criminal world, seeking a sense of belonging. He began his tattoo journey at 15, covering his arms, and continued getting inked extensively. His sister, Talitha, recalled their parents being shocked when Bronson came home in his late teens with a neck tattoo.
Most of my arms were done in a shop when I was younger. I was about 14 or 15.
Soon after, he got bats inked on his face, followed by a full chest tattoo he did himself. As an adult, Bronson spent a lot of time in and out of prison, where he got more tattoos, including his back and legs. One of these tattoos was a swastika, which was discussed during a court hearing. His defense lawyer argued it was more about shock value than Nazi beliefs. Talitha said Bronson always aimed to stand out, which was evident in his decision to cover his entire head and face in tattoos. Bronson had his face tattooed 6 times and lasers 3 times.
Face was all done professionally in a tattoo shop. I've had it done about 6 times over.
With the most notable being the number 23 across his face, his favorite number. He even tattooed his eyelids. However, his distinctive face tattoos made it difficult for him to rise in the ranks of the Gold Coast Bikie gangs as a drug dealer. A source from the Bikie community told the Gold Coast Bulletin that Bronson's distinctive appearance made it impossible for him to succeed as a drug dealer since he was always recognized. He didn't have the support of the bikie gangs and was only loosely associated with them. Initially, he was with the Bandidos, then mingled with some Hells Angels. But he was easily influenced and never fully integrated. Bronson's sister mentioned his brief involvement with the Bandidos, but by his early 20s, he was no longer with them. Despite his tough appearance, he wasn't truly bad, but the police saw him as a troubled youth targeted by gangs. Police records showed Bronson's early offenses were minor and non-violent. He was first charged in 2010 for altering vehicle registration plates, then breached parole and committed minor fraud. Police attention increased after a 2012 brawl with a Finks NC member. In 2013, he lost his driver's license and later pleaded guilty to drug possession. Despite his criminal history and drug addiction, his friend Nick Blanthorne described him differently. Nick recalled how Bronson would feed pigeons before himself and joked about their friendship. Bronson enjoyed spelling bees with Nick and designed a koi fish tattoo for him. After serving a prison term in 2015, Bronson wanted to leave his criminal past and pursue a career in death metal music under the alias Solitary Sun. However, his music received harsh criticism online. In a 2015 interview with Noisy, he mentioned disturbing comments on his YouTube videos due to negative feedback, but remained confident despite the haters. When asked if he thought he was destined for fame, Bronson Ellery confidently replied, 100%. I've been into music since I was 2, droning on pots and pans at 3, got my first drum kit at 5, and started guitar at 7. He was so committed to becoming a death metal star that he used tattoos to burn bridges with society. He said, I knew I'd never have a normal job. I was dedicated to music and covered myself in tattoos to make sure I had no other option. My appearance fit the music genre and made a statement. Despite his dedication, Bronson's music didn't gain traction. The website Metal Sucks called his music atrocious and his videos silly. Around this time, he began a toxic relationship with 18-year-old Chelsea Schilling, which led to her taking out a domestic violence order against him in 2015. Bronson was jailed for 3 months for breaching the order. With his music career failing and his relationship deteriorating, Bronson spiraled out of control. A source from the Gold Coast underworlds said the pair were obsessed with their own demise. Bronson's friend, Michael Wharton, was so worried that he confiscated Bronson's rifle and ammunition. Chelsea's parents described how Bronson became more controlling, stopping her from seeing friends and going through her phone. Chelsea tried to escape by changing her appearance, phone number, and job, and even deactivating her Facebook profile. A domestic violence support service put her into hiding, but she eventually reunited with Bronson. In late 2016, police alleged that Bronson and another man stormed a house in Highland Park, armed with a rifle and machete, threatening the occupants and stealing several items. Bronson reportedly told the victims he would harm them if they called the police. When the homeowner returned, Bronson threatened him before driving away in the man's car. Former reality TV contestant Christopher Paul Loden was in the stolen car with Bronson that night. Although Loden wasn't involved in stealing the car, he admitted to being a passenger and knowing it was stolen. Several days after the robbery, on November 9, 2016, Chelsea, Bronson, Loden, and a woman named Jasmine O'Neill were at Bronson's apartment when a heated argument broke out between Bronson and Chelsea. When the argument between Bronson Ellery and Chelsea Shitting turned physical, their friends left the room. When the noise stopped, they returned to find Chelsea had been beaten to death, lying face down in a pool of blood. Shockingly, no one called for help or the police. They just stood there. One person checked Chelsea's pulse, but found she was dead. Bronson's friend Michael Wharton arrived shortly after. In despair, Bronson told Michael he had promised Chelsea he would go with her. Bronson changed into his best suit, played his favorite song, set up a full-length mirror, and lay down in front of it with Chelsea's arm draped over him. He then gave himself a fatal dose of drugs. It's unclear what Christopher and Jasmine were doing during this time. The guests left without calling anyone, and it wasn't until November 11th that Nick Blanthorne found their bodies. Chelsea's family last heard from her when she called to say she was coming over for dinner, but she never arrived. A note from Bronson to Chelsea's family was found in her handbag, apologizing for taking her life and saying she loved them very much. The police launched a large-scale investigation, interviewing witnesses and uncovering details about the couple's turbulent history. Initially, it was thought to be a double murder, possibly a hit related to Bronson's efforts to establish a chapter of the European Bikie gang Satudara. However, it quickly became clear that this wasn't the case. 5 days after the bodies were found, police discovered a list of names Bronson was trying to recruit for an outlaw motorcycle gang in his apartment. Jasmine O'Neill later came forward to talk to the police, with her lawyer stating she did so to give Chelsea's family closure. Local detectives spent a long time investigating where Bronson got the drugs for his fatal dose, but no charges were ever filed. In Queensland, there are no laws holding bystanders accountable for not intervening in violent situations, so those present during the attack couldn't be charged for doing anything. Chelsea's mom Bunny posted a poem and a note that Chelsea had written on Facebook after the murder. The note read, "I'm sorry to be so negative, but I want everyone to know that if I get hurt or die, Bronson Ellery is responsible." She signed it with Chelsea. When Bronson was in jail, Chelsea was terrified for her life. After her murder, the Shilling family demanded answers about why she was at Bronson's apartment. They wondered if she was taken there by force or went willingly. The family called for a coroner to investigate Chelsea's murder, needing to know how she ended up at Bronson's unit. They also wanted the 3 people present to testify about that day. A spokesman for the Coroner's Court of Queensland told the Gold Coast Bulletin that a decision to hold an inquest hadn't been made yet, and it's unlikely the family will get the answers they seek. Chelsea's mom Bunny described her daughter as beautiful, ambitious, and hardworking, with dreams that could have led her to success. Chelsea was deeply loved by her family and friends, and she will be remembered for the joy she brought to their lives. Why do you think Chelsea ended up at Bronson's apartment? Please share your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one.